Any company out there that thinks that they're in the driver's seat is delusional. They're completely delusional.
My name's Peter Sumpton, and this is the Marketing Study Lab podcast. A podcast for those that are thinking, have thought and are doing, or already have a marketing qualification. Or even if you haven't, and you just want to know that a little bit more about what good, happy marketing is. As we cover a whole host of marketing topics, I chat to some amazing guests, each one a superstar in their own niche. And if you have a burning marketing question already, or after this episode, get in touch. We'll chat it through. peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk. Or find me on LinkedIn. The link is in the show notes. If you'd like to leave a review on iTunes, this will really help others find this podcast and spread the marketing word. Now let's get on with today's episode. Paid, owned, and earned media. What are the differences? Well, we'll talk about that later. But before we do any of that, I can't wait to have this chat with Mr. Ryan Holtz. Ryan's digital marketing work has been featured by Twitter, Automotive News, Canadian Auto Dealer Magazine, Huffington Post, and several other major publications. Ryan is an outspoken and charismatic keynote speaker, so this is going to make an amazing little chat for you listeners. He speaks at various events, conferences, and even schools, which I think is fantastic and amazing. But the most humbling part of all this is that he is in high demand. And when he agreed to come on this podcast, I was so humbled. But I suppose I could say that about any of my guests, really. So what we're going to discuss? Well, we'll talk about the motoring industry and the importance of a CRM, amongst other things. So Ryan, come on, don't be shy. Tell us, what's the most expensive piece of jewelry you own?
Wow, you know what? It's I'm gonna sound very materialistic here, but since I was a kid, I'm not somebody that ever wore rings really. I just didn't like the feel of a ring. It felt like constricting, but I knew that when I got married one day, I wanted to have like a really blinged out wedding ring, because I'd actually wear it. So that is my most expensive piece. I don't actually want to say the amount because you could literally buy a car. It is wrapped in diamonds, and I did design it myself. I designed it when I was actually 13 years old, and then got it crafted. And I basically got my wife's ring, the female version of it. It's super nice. It's all diamond. And that is definitely by far my most expensive piece. It's got my name engraved on it, which eventually I'll pass to one of my children.
That's a great story. It's got to be the wedding ring, hasn't it?
It's the wedding ring. Yeah. It's the wedding ring for sure.
Even if it wasn't, you have to say it is.
No, man. You know what? Honestly, I have no shame. I would say I took a bubblegum wrapper out of a little dispenser and wrapped it around. I have no shame. I would totally be honest.
I think you've won on both fronts there. You just said the wedding ring's really important, and then you said it doesn't matter. I love you that much. I'd go down on one knee with anything. Just win there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us your story. What's brought you to this stage of your career as a marketing agency owner at Ryan Holtz Marketing?
You know what? It's kind of funny because I get asked that question a lot, and it's really a long story. I wouldn't necessarily say I ever, even as a child, grew up and thought that I wanted to go into marketing. I really think that marketing kind of found me. I definitely was a kid growing up that had a lot of personality. I come from a big sports background, so I used to play American football, since I was 12.
Who's your
team?
And
then basically, I like the Baltimore Ravens. I was a Ray Lewis fan.
Oh, nice.
And Ray, he retired obviously, but I got to actually work out with him once when I was in California and at a combine. He came in and did a workout with us and the team, and super amazing experience. And he kind of said, it's very vivid for me because he was a true gentleman, and he was like, when he didn't play football, he was the most calmest, soft-spoken person. And then once it was game time, like it was two different people. He was a complete beast.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Um, but kind of fast forwarding, when I was in university, I thought, what do I want to do with my life? And I was really involved with, I wanted to become a psychiatrist, actually. I was fascinated with the human brain, fascinated with, why people do what they do, why they react how they react. And it's kind of interesting because when you think of marketing is really all about that. It's, why do people want a product or service?
Mm-hmm.
When do they want that product or service? And what's their preferred form of communication, which is the medium, which is, is it social media they like to consume their content? Is it Amazon? Is it all these different things? But any marketer out there, in my opinion, if you are not in the business of the human brain, you're probably a terrible marketer, because you need to understand that amidst all the buzzwords, and we'll get into your chicken omni-channel and all that stuff, but it's really about people, and you really have to try to understand where this person is, what situation they're in, why they even need your product or service, and then how best to communicate without annoying them. And so fast forward, always been an entrepreneur. Started my first company when I was 24 years old, and then got bought out. I sold it when I was 27, almost 28. Started kind of funny because at that time I met my wife, and I didn't know what to do. I had a little bit of money, and I sold my company. And
So
I
what
was
was the
kind of
company?
like, the company was it was a online marketing and a video
Okay.
production company. But it's funny because the marketing itself was maybe 5%. The video production was huge. Where I'm located in Canada, oil is a big thing. So we used to do a lot of filming for health and safety videos. And it's kind of interesting because as we talk, I'm hoping people who are listening understand that they might not be on their chosen path right now. They might think that, but it's weird how life works, because everything actually leads you to where you need to be. You just
Yeah.
have to really enjoy the process. So anyways, I sold that company, fumbled my thumbs for a little bit. And then there was this little crappy ad from an auto dealership. And I don't know where you are, but auto dealerships where I am aren't like the number one public opinion place. A lot of dealerships are viewed generally by the public as not the nicest people,
Sure.
sometimes trying to screw you around on the car price, like all these different things. And it was a marketing position. And what appealed to me was they didn't have any marketing. There was no base. It was a position that I could basically come in and create as I went along. And as somebody who's an entrepreneur, if you are going to sit at a job, you need something that's extremely flexible and is malleable, because that's the way your brain is working all the time. If I had a boss and it was 9 to 5, I'd be fired yesterday. So started at this dealership, could not believe how much they were spending on their marketing. And it was crappy marketing. It was terrible. Like, it was just, we're the cheapest dealership around town. Like, oh God, like I think everybody around the world says that who's in the car business. And I just was like flabbergasted. And I give props to the owner, who was my boss, because he said, Ryan, here's our marketing budget for the year. As long as you can justify why you're spending, where you're spending, have at it. And I took it and I ran. We became the first dealership within 8 months of me being there to be featured by Twitter alongside Barack Obama on their case studies page.
Wow.
And that propelled me into a fury of publications, media appearances, everything. Long story short, after a year, I thought, man, I'm the man. I'm the best automotive marketer that ever lived. And I formed my own company. And almost 5 years later, I wrote my own training, and I teach it through the other automotive provincial state associations. And then I take my clients and I have dealerships and manufacturers. And 5 years later, I've been going hardcore, and I speak, and I'm a DJ, I MC, and true-blooded entrepreneur. So that's where I'm at today.
Brilliant. Sounds like you love it as well.
I do.
So the automotive industry, it's quite a niche industry in terms of what they do. Like you said, it's sometimes not the best well thought of industry. What's the differences between marketing to that particular market compared to others?
It's interesting because I feel like the automotive sector, first of all, it's big money. I mean, your average dealership, if you're, even a mid-sized dealership, if people are listening to this podcast, when you drive by your next dealership, just ask yourself, how much is one car worth on that lot? And then times it by the hundreds that are on that
Mhm.
lot. And that's going to give you a value on just inventory. Then ask yourself, how much does that land cost that that big, beautiful glass structure is built on? That's going to give you a cost. So that's one dealership. And there's thousands of dealerships worldwide. It's a massive industry. It is the second largest purchase next to buying a home or a flat, whatever you'd like to call them.
Mhm.
And you cannot put an emphasis or even a dollar value on kind of where you could go in that industry. That being said, I can speak for the automotive in, the United States and Canada, because that's where I do all my business. The dealerships are tough. A lot of them are not ran well. They're inherited down to the kids. Mom and dad bought the dealership years ago, kids taking over. Not, sometimes those kids are not great business owners. So you get a little bit of sloppiness, I find, inside the industry. It's really weird because the average dealership, I would say, they're either really good or they're just not good. There's not a huge middle ground in my experience. I am definitely a black sheep in the automotive industry because I do go against the grain. I do say things that, nobody else wants to say because they're afraid that, they're not going to get a client or they need that paycheck. And that's what I want to tell everybody who's in marketing is if you're going into marketing to be like everybody else, don't. Just
Yeah.
don't, because your career is going to be very short-lived. Marketing, the whole thesis of marketing is being different, bringing in innovation and really bringing in your personality. And a lot of kids, I speak at schools myself, and I get a lot of students that message saying, "Hey, I got a couple questions, mentorship type things." They're always asking like, "Hey, my professor taught me this. What do you think? Is this a little, behind and dated?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it is a little behind and dated. Like we're in this little thing called the internet, and it's moving at the speed of light. No curriculum is even remotely catching up to this digital behemoth." And that is the truth. So I would tell people that, especially your audience, students, take what you're learning. I think it's great, but really have that independent brain to really go out there and get more knowledge and understand that your career, the beauty of marketing is you're like, my biggest thing is I totally love how much I don't know because I don't know a lot.
Mm.
That's what I love about marketing. In my mind, I know nothing. I'm every day. I mean, I probably read 4 or 5 hours a day, and I've been in marketing for 10 years, and I'm reading 4 or 5 hours a day just to try to keep up with what's going on. And students are like flabbergasted at that. I'm like, this industry's changing. What if Facebook comes out and changes their algorithm? What if Instagram's no longer there? What if Snapchat's gone? What if YouTube doesn't even want you to do pre-roll? What if Google's changed their products like 25,000 times? You have to keep up with what's going on because your client expects that.
I just love the fact that it is just it constantly changing, and you do have to constantly keep learning and updating it yourself. It's no longer these just standardized channels that we use, because who knows, 14, 15 years ago, Facebook didn't even exist. I mean, what the hell?
Well, you go back to 1999, 98. Think about when the internet even really came up. I mean, we're plugging into dial-in modems, and trying to like dial in. You hear that little, ding, and you're like, "Am I connected?" People think like, "Oh, this internet thing's been here forever." I'm like, this thing is new.
Mhm.
We've barely been living with it for 2 decades. At the race, like the last maybe 9, 10 years has been when like it's really taken over. You're seeing department stores, big box stores, they're going out of business because Amazon, right? Amazon, I mean, you can order it to your door, you can ship it back. The targeting, the remarketing, the repurposing, everything is so tailored into the consumer. The consumer is totally in the driver's seat right now, by the
Mm.
way. Any company out there that thinks that they're in the driver's seat is delusional. They're completely delusional. The behemoth of options that the average consumer has to not only do their product research of what they would like to buy, but also how to buy it is absolutely, extraordinary. So another thing I would say to, kids thinking about getting into marketing or really trying to, be successful in that area is leave your ego at the door, understand that you're here to serve, and just be a student of life. Like I get all my inspiration from everywhere. Marketing isn't everything, you can't go to the washroom without seeing an advertisement, right?
Yeah.
So So that's what I would say.
I just want to take it on a bit further. Just looking at your website, I know you discussed
Sure.
the importance of a CRM.
Yep.
Why is that important?
The customer retention management. First of all, it's interesting because the CRM I think it's extremely important because, the slang, I like to kind of use like slang terms for everything. It's just basically like, I kind of think about it as my little black book on my customer. I want to know, a little bit about them. I want to know, maybe some of our interactions. I want to know when I last interacted with them. I want to understand what their buying cycle is. The CRM kind of gives me a lot of that information that I kind of, mentioned at the beginning, where it comes back to the human brain, right? The CRM is really kind of an insight to your customer's mind. And it's not just your current customer, it could be your past or your future customer. And we know with things like remarketing, retargeting, especially with Facebook, right? If I got, a male and female and they're, 27 to 31 years old and they both love coffee and I'm a coffee company, well, if I put out an ad to them and they buy my coffee, maybe I want more customers like them, which we would call a lookalike audience. But how do I start really dialing into that customer if I don't even know who the hell my customer is? So your CRM is only as good as the information that you put into it. So a lot of times when I work with clients, first thing I ask is like, what kind of database are you guys using, to keep track of all your customers? And and this is one thing I can really speak to is it doesn't matter what industry you're in. A lot of companies they kind of get all shy and they're like, well, we do have it. We pay a lot of money for it, but the data is kind of not. I'm like, how come it says Jane Doe and Joe Blow and Bert 1234 and Stephanie 167 and they're like, it's just we went through different people and we just kind of put stuff in. And so the disclaimer on the CRM system is they're powerful, assuming that you use them to the degree. So I will side with the companies that provide CRMs because a lot of them get a lot of flack and a lot of companies are like, it's too complicated. It's a terrible CRM. No, you're a terrible company. You're a terrible client because I'm sorry, you don't even need a fancy CRM. You could open up an Excel spreadsheet, label it, put it in. Like, you know what I'm saying here? Like you don't need a fancy CRM per se. Like you could collect clean data. So the CRM to me is really huge because we are all human and you cannot remember all your customers and you cannot remember everything about them. It is also a really great way to, go in, figure out maybe your offerings are different. Maybe you're offering a different product. Maybe you're offering a different service. There's a lot of ways to really kind of upsell with inside that CRM, assuming that the data is clean.
I think some customers might be pleasantly surprised in terms of who their target market actually ends up being, and they might find out that it isn't who they think it is.
Well, you're right in saying that. I think one of the hardest things to do for any company, myself included, is who's your audience? And people we throw around that question so loosely. And you're on LinkedIn, and I mean, I'll see 2 posts a day of somebody saying, know your audience, figure out your audience. You should have an audience. If you don't know your audience, what are you doing? But very few people tell you how to discover the audience. And it's something that I'm still trying to figure out because I think that your company evolves, people evolve, and therefore your audience is potentially going to, evolve. And you're very right. Sometimes you can look at the data and it will kind of speak to you as to, man, why am I sending the ad out to, 37 to 42-year-old females when maybe they should be going out to like 28 to 31-year-old males? You just don't know until you look at the data. That being said, don't be a marketing person that is all about metrics. I always say the clicks, the retweets, the unique visitors, the impressions, it all equates to one word, and that is humans. Humans. You're not going to talk to your customer and say, oh my God, your first impression was amazing. Then you went to my secondary landing page, and then we had a little drop ship form ready to rock. And then our cookies are going to follow you like a stalker that we are. And then when you went on Amazon and didn't check out and make the purchase, we see the ad on Facebook. Like, don't talk like that. It's not cool. And your customers will not like you. Like, you need to use that data, but use it in a way that is only going to serve your human interaction with the customer. And I think a lot of marketers right now, they're getting really like I'm seeing a lot of accountants. I'm not seeing marketers. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by accountants is you're seeing all these little cookie counters All these marketers are, hey man, big data, small data, big data. Like everybody's talking about metrics, but like use an accountant for that. Like you need to figure out human being wise. Don't stay behind the numbers too much. Some of the best marketing campaigns that have ever lived. Let's discuss one. This is a big one. Nike, Colin Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, just imagine going to this chief marketing officer of Nike and trying to equate based on metrics why you should run a campaign like that. If you come in talking strictly about numbers, number one, you should never be running a campaign like that because it's not just about numbers. It's about like bigger social issues. Number two, if you're actually going to try to sell this to a company that potentially that dips their hand into this could be a PR disaster, you got to come at it more with numbers. But look at that campaign. Look at on paper. You could never explain it through numbers. But Nike sold a lot of friggin' stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to what you were saying. What is that campaign? Fundamentally, it's different to anything else out there.
Oh, it's because you have a brand that's saying, we're going to take a risk, and on paper, I mean, just imagine the lawyers. The lawyers would come in and screw that marketing campaign up so quick.
Yeah.
They'd be like, guys, don't do it. Don't do it. The accountant's like, oh my God, if our stock price goes down by like 2%, oh my God. Like you're going to have the lawyers and the accountants like going down your neck, telling you every reason not to do that campaign. So that's the numbers people. They're going to give you all the numbers. You being the purebred marketer that we need you to be, you need to see past the numbers and really go to that. Why are we doing this campaign? And that's where the beauty of it is, right? Whoever remotely first suggested that they do that campaign is a rock star right now. They're a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
They trust me. If it didn't work out, they're fired. They're done. They're done forever. They need to get out of marketing because that will be on their resume haunting them forever. So that's a huge risk that they took. But now I'm sure they got a pay raise. I'm sure whoever it was is a rock star within Nike.
Yeah, I think they can buy a few more pairs of trainers.
Yeah. So again, you have to use your judgment of data and then your judgment of knowing your customer. And I think the CRM will actually blend both of those for you, depending on how you interpret the data in which you put in.
Yeah, sure. And I like the way we started this conversation talking about the Ravens and the Super Bowl win. And didn't they beat the 49ers?
Yes.
And we've come around to Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I'm a 49ers fan, so thanks for keep bringing that up. But even sticking with that theme, when the lights went out in that particular Super Bowl and Oreos were there with their dunking in the dark tweet, just, you can't quantify that and you don't measure that, but that was hugely impactful.
Well, it's timing and it's listening, right? I mean, a lot of marketing is listening. Twitter it's interesting. Twitter, I used to tweet a lot, and it's, I use Twitter a lot, even for my podcast to really listen to what people are talking about, try to pick up trending topics, things like that, keyword everywhere. Do you ever use that? It's a Chrome extension, keywords everywhere. Have you ever used that?
Not keywords everywhere. Actually, today I've been using just Google keywords and something called SE ranking.
Use keywords everywhere. It's really great because you can put it as a Chrome extension, but what's so nice is that you could literally just start typing in a word into just, a normal Google page. And then all of a sudden it tells you how much the bid is per word. It tells you the statements. It's just beautiful. It's people that aren't SEO, I will claim I'm not an SEO expert. I know the base. I got people that I ask really detailed questions for on my team, but I do understand the basis of it. And that's, I kind of call it, for lack of better words, SEO for dummies, because it really gives somebody that maybe they're not even interested in that. It's just a great tool for them. A small business owner that maybe can't afford a marketing company or anything, like it's a great tool. Anybody can understand it. And it really, as soon as you start typing in something, you're like, how do I know how much like Furnace, Scotland costs? It's like 62 cents or something, So you start thinking of things like that. So keywords everywhere. But back to the Oreo analogy. Yeah, it's, timing is everything. Not everything can be, quantitative in marketing. I think a lot of speakers out there, when you go to South by Southwest or some of these big conferences or digital marketing conferences, they really get into these numbers, but the best speakers, like I like people like Seth Godin,
Yeah.
they're amazing, the Gary Vaynerchuks, of course, like,
Yeah.
they're coming at you from a different perspective, not just numbers, but they're coming at you like, hey, this is your customer, know them, understand them, and market to them. So yeah, I think students right now that are, getting a master's or doing all that, they need to really make sure that they're not just in the books, they're really like dialed into life.
You completely agree. When I do workshops or any kind of teaching, I try and make it as practical as possible and provide those examples, because they read marketing books, and that's massively important for the theory and the background and the methodology of how this all comes together. But you need to look at what's going on now, right now, and these people are beyond the bravado of the likes of a Gary Vaynerchuk. They just speak sense, and it's the same things you've been talking about today.
Well, it is, and it's funny because marketing students, I mean, not everybody's going to come out and open up their own agency. A lot of students are going to go and work for a company, or they'll work client side or they'll work agency side, and at some point they're gonna their boss or whoever's their superior, quote unquote. I hate using those terms because good leaders never call themselves a boss, but they're gonna have to answer and say, well, hey, come up with a campaign. And not only are you going to have a campaign that works to the customer, but you're going to have to pitch it to your management. So if you come at an accountant with a bunch of marketing terms, like they're just not going to buy in. They're not going to understand. So you need to really dial it down and dumbify it, because, if you can't explain to an 8-year-old or an 88-year-old, you don't understand it well enough yourself.
Sure. So over the next 5-10 years, say, how can people future-proof their business or the marketing, if you like? What's happening?
How can they future-proof their business?
Yeah, I mean, from a marketing point of view, what are we looking at? What are we going to be doing in 5 to 10 years?
I don't think they can. I think the only thing you remotely could do is make sure that you are consistently keeping an open mind. You are consistently, making your company, whether it's, middle, large, always ready to be able to change at a quick of a dime. The companies right now that are succeeding, like, it's kind of true. Big corporations, as opposed to like the smaller company. Let's say we got a 10-person company. If you come in and you say, oh my God, right now, we just took out these ads on YouTube. They did not do anything for us. We can get this customer, the cost to acquire this customer is like a fraction on Facebook. They can make that decision right now. When you have a big company, you're slow, you're sluggish, chain of command. You got to filter down to this person. That person has to sign off. You're getting your ass kicked by the 10-person company, because what I love about marketing and advertising, I'll tell you this right now, for the first time ever in the world, we're all at a level playing field. Somebody who has $1 million for their advertising as opposed to somebody who has 100,000, it's the same, because the people that spend their money smartly, the cost of acquiring a customer has never been cheaper if you target them properly, right? Like you can get a customer on Facebook for less than $1 if you're really dialed in, saying, let's say you're a podcast microphone, like Shure company or something. They make microphones for podcasts. You can have that one microphone only show to people on Facebook who are like a podcaster. Like, it's amazing. So you don't have to waste all this money. I call it like marketing obesity, meaning that you have so much wasted spend showing all your ads to people that aren't even in the market for your shitty product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So show your product to the people who are actually in the market for your product. And that's going to actually like get rid of that financial obesity, meaning you're just carrying all this extra financial and bad marketing, clean it out and go forward. So how can a company future-proof their marketing? They can't, but what they can do is just make sure that they can be quick, nimble, and open-minded to making decisions or completely rejigging their marketing plan on the go. The days of sitting around the boardroom, discussing what you want to do, taking 6 months to do it, Blockbuster, Netflix,
Yep.
Come on, right? 6 months to a year, you could be done.
Yeah.
You you could be done because this little coder is in their bedroom right now. That's like a one-person team, and an engineer are kicking your ass because they're up, watching bad movies and coding on their computer all night long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Meanwhile, you guys are too worried about taking lunch breaks and working till 5 o'clock and then going home, right? Right? They're kicking your ass.
When you put it like that, it just sounds crazy. If you said that, well, you've got this lifestyle or that lifestyle in terms of progressing in a career. Which one's gonna win? It's madness.
It is madness, and it's even we talk about things like the corporate culture, and like you don't have to wear a suit and tie anymore. Those days are the most wealthiest people in the world. It's true. They're wearing jeans and a t-shirt. You go to, I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of visiting. I've went to Facebook, Google, and YouTube's head offices. I walk in there and you see some of their top programmers and top engineers, and they look like they're from a back alley. Like you would be surprised. And this guy is like making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Because he's like their top coder. So, again, it's, maybe you watch where you put your energy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like my suits and I lived in a suit for years. And even myself now, I'm starting to kind of casual a little bit more because I just feel like, I want to get more work done. It's kind of the uniform mentality where it's like, I don't want to have to think about everything I want to wear each day. I want to put my energy elsewhere, and I like my funky look, but it's something that even I've thought about a lot. And I look at the audiences that I speak to and stuff like that. And, the world's really changing that way. So again, be open-minded to change.
Absolutely. Ryan, I'd like to finish on some quick fire questions. So you're ready for these?
Sure.
Let's do it. Name one must-read business book.
Oh, Ego's the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
What was the last thing you Googled?
That's a good one. Pioneer DJ SB3 DJ controller. I just got it. I'm trying to learn it.
Wow, that was brilliant. What is your most used app at the moment?
Good question. I would have to productivity or just in general.
Any.
That's a great question. Oh, it's probably tough. The last few days, Evernote. I've been using that. I've been really rejigging a lot of my stuff and folders and kind of repurposing and re-strategizing. So I've been really heavy in my notes and my Evernote.
A lot of people have said that actually.
Yeah.
What is your favorite theory, concept, or methodology?
I created a I am enough wall. So as I'm speaking to you, I run my whole business out of I actually have a couple homes in 2 different provinces. So my wife and I, we both have businesses. And so our family actually lives in one home for half the month and another home half the month. But the home I'm in now is like my studio for my podcasting and where I do all my business. So I actually created a wall, and it's just simple. It's got 4 shelves, and it has some of the most to some people would seem irrelevant, and then to me most irrelevant. There's things from I've gotten plaques from listeners to I have my own action figure. I got a football helmet. Wow. I have my football cleats that I wore during my last football game on it. Some of my favorite liquor bottles. I got a Twitter shirt that was given to me by Twitter themselves. I got a couple plaques. I got the Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk. I got Disney Doug Lip, who's a genius, book on here. And it's just the I am enough wall. So I think, I tell people all the time, I'm like, in business, you're constantly going to go through ups and downs. You need one little area that is just your area, and it doesn't have to be a wall. It could be anything you want, but it should resemble something to the degree of you are enough. So whatever you need to do to do that and to kind of get reinforced, basically it's a place you can go when you feel like you just got your ass kicked and you don't know how you're going to recover. And you're just in one of those moods where nothing's going right and you're the worst person in the world. And I think we've all experienced those. And that's kind of my method. And it works really well for me because I look at it and I'm just like, you sorry son of a bitch, just keep going, man. You're tougher than that.
You've just won that question, by the way. That was the best answer I've ever heard.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
So, final question. If you had to drive one car for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The car I'm driving now, it's a BMW X5. 2009.
Nice.
It's all blacked out, beige on the inside. I don't like the new models. I like the older BMWs. This one's a beast. It's 475 horsepower. Um, I brought home my first child in this vehicle.
Hmm.
If you've seen the vehicle, you would think it was brand new. It's mint condition. It's all customized. I could drive this vehicle for the rest of my life, no problem.
Love it. Ryan, if people want to find more out about Ryan Holtz marketing or get in touch with you,
Sure.
how can they do it?
Well, first off, I have a podcast, and it's something I'm really proud of. Just like you, our curiosity is our mandate. That's kind of our show topic. And when I created the podcast, originally I wanted to talk about, business, marketing, automotive lifestyle. We've had, guests ranging from the lead designer for Nike Air Jordan on. We've had YouTube celebrities. And it's amazing. I'm sure you feel this way, but every time we have a guest on, have a conversation, it's really sobering because I feel like it's not that I feel like I know everything, but when you talk to really smart people, you realize how much you don't know, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's very humbling. So I feel like I'm kind of selfishly getting my fix of like just it's amazing. You get to just talk to somebody for like an hour. So the Reinhold Show podcast available anywhere where you can listen to a podcast. Reinholds.ca is my company website. And I'm sure you've noticed this, and it's something for marketing students to think about. When I created my website, the same website that you visited, I created that website while I had a job still. So I was still at the dealership, and I felt like I really wanted to take ownership over my job. And I kind of knew that I was going to open up my own company. And what I did was I started blogging about my daily experiences at that job. For that reason alone, because I created that blog, I had people within the industry start reaching out, asking me to speak at conferences. And one guy said one thing to me. He says, I really admire the fact that you didn't just sit at your job. You took that job. And to be honest with you, for lack of better words, I fucked that job up. I took so much advantage of it. I completely assaulted that job. I squeezed whether it was going to conferences, whether it was learning, whether it was go talk to the owners. I knew everybody from the person that cleaned the floors to the person that bought the vehicles. I invested into it. So that when it came time to open up my own company, I didn't actually open up my own company. My company opened up me because people were reaching out to me so much that RyanHoltz.ca just turned into Ryan Holtz Marketing. So I didn't even think of a name. It's still RyanHoltz.ca. And people ask me questions to this day. They're like, your website's very personalized still. Like I show my Instagram on there. You don't feel like you're dealing with this corporation. And I really chose to keep it that way. So people will literally be like, hi, hey, Ryan. They're shocked when they call the number and I pick up. I don't have a secretary. I don't have a receptionist. They can text me. I'll be like, hey, how's it going? You can like my Instagram picture right now. So, again, to those students that are, head down in their books, don't just be a student. Get out there. I don't care what you got to do. Own it. Don't just sit there, go to class, read some stuff, do your assignment. Go work for free. Go find something that inspires you, because don't wait till you're done your program to start applying for jobs. Get out there, get in the game, because if you're a student just in your book, in my opinion, you're not in the game. You're literally sitting in the bleachers waiting to get in the game. And my opinion is the best learning, get in the frigging game, right? So Reinholds.ca, at Reinholds1 on all social platforms. That's how you can find me.
Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you telling so many truths today. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Let me know when it's up, and we'll have some fun, and make sure you tag me.
So I want to start my takeaways with a bit of a philosophical one, if you don't mind. And that is, Ryan said to follow your own path. It will take you where you want to and are supposed to end up. More importantly, don't forget to enjoy the process of actually getting there. And of course, this includes your CIM qualification journey. I'd love to take it with you. CRM, customer retention or relationship management, is hugely important if you want to stay in touch with your core audience. But, and this is a massive but, the data must be clean and valid. Rubbish in? Rubbish out. So unless you want to target M mouse and D duck, think of it as your business's little black book. For those of you who don't know what a little black book is, it used to be the thing we used to refer to, metaphorically speaking, as the thing that had all your contacts in, those personal, intimate contacts. Moving on. In this fast-paced world, you need to keep an open mind and always be ready to change on a dime. Might be an American phrase, but perfect here. Today, we have the opportunity to compete on a level playing field with the giants in our industries. And because the small businesses, like mine, like possibly yours, have the flexibility to move fast, this should be taken advantage of wherever possible. Now, this is where I tell you the difference between paid, owned, and earned media in a digital landscape. Now, this is important for two reasons. One, you should know this regardless of where you are in your career, particularly your digital career. And two, as you might have heard, it forms the fundamentals for the CIM assignment question we've just been discussing. So I'm going to take them one at a time. Earned media. This is essentially online word of mouth, usually seen in the form of mentions, shares, reposts, reviews, recommendations, likes, retweets, or whatever term a platform uses for engagement of any kind. Owned media. Pretty much what it says, really. It's any web property that you are in control of. So that could be your own website, a blog, or a social media channel, perhaps. And finally, paid media. Well, this is simply what you pay for within the online space. Usually to generate traffic or further engagement through things like online advertising, paid social, posts, and even influencers, for example, and not forgetting PPC, pay-per-click, and also retargeting. So there you have it. Earned, owned, and paid media. Thank you so much for joining us today on Marketing Study Lab. It really means the world that you're listening to this out there. And hopefully I've provided you some value. If you're looking to know more about what Marketing Study Lab does and is about, go to marketingstudylab.co.uk or get in touch with me personally, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or feel free to email me at peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk. Happy marketing.